If once is nice, then twice is better. Within hours, another commitment for Hugh Freeze and Auburn football on the defensive side of the ball. Let's talk about who that is and what it means for the Auburn Tigers. War Eagle, and welcome back to the channel. My name's Kyle here at E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. As you're watching or listening today, be sure to drop a comment down below about this particular topic. We'd love to hear your thoughts as we're sharing ours. Be sure to check out our friends at Alumni Hall. It's always a great time to shop with them, and as an affiliate of theirs, we want to make sure you check them out for your Auburn apparel needs. Be sure to use the link, the very first link in the top of our description to shop online, or you can even shop in store. And hey, if you are still watching this before Father's Day of 2023, we have that code that runs up until that day, E2CDAD23, that you need to utilize. Be sure to do that before time runs out. I already mentioned it at the top of the video that this is the second commitment for the Tigers within a matter of hours. That first one was wide receiver Bryce Kane. Make sure you check that video out that we already did if you haven't done so already. Let's move to the defensive side of the ball for this one. Your new defensive back commit, Kensley Faustin, is now part of the Auburn commitment class and the second one of the summer thus far. Auburn was able to beat out teams like UCF and several other prominent Florida schools out there for this particular commitment. Let's start like we always do, the timeline of events that brought us to the point of his commitment today. It starts way back into September of 2022 with a previous staff at Auburn, mind you. That's when the offer came from the Auburn Tigers. Now we fast forward all the way to this past weekend where he was on his first unofficial visit to Auburn, and during that time had a big impression made on him, enough to only a few days later make the commitment to Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. That speaks to the level of salesmanship that went on during that initial visit. Now that you know how he got here, let's talk about some facts for Kensley so you know what he's bringing to the table here at Auburn. In high school, he's considered a 3 to a 4-star prospect currently out of Naples, Florida, and Naples High School as a defensive back. Now, in terms of what kind of defensive back he's going to be, let's look at his measurables. He's listed currently roughly between 5'10", 5'11", 170 pounds. So it's a little bit on the smaller side, so you might think cornerback, but no, he wants to play safety, and that seems like where he's going to end up playing at some point. The great thing, even with maybe quote unquote being undersized, he has a lot of versatility and mobility on the field, which could make up for that perceived lack of size at the safety position. Now let's back up the facts with some stats from his past season as a junior in 2022. During that season, he accrued a total of 46 tackles, 7 interceptions, 6 pass breakups, and even added some fumble stats too. 2 fumble recoveries, and one of which he forced himself. A couple storylines around his commitment for me that sticks out, that we're getting another defensive player after we've been getting a lot of offensive guys to talk about in 2024 thus far. Also, on top of that, the defensive back class is amounting to be something very special when you talk about Jaden Lewis, Amon Lane. On top of that, Wesley McGriff, Zach Etheridge, y'all are doing work, my guys. Now that you know about the player, let's talk about what it means for Auburn football, and we'll start with the numbers for this particular class. In total, at the time of his commitment, it brought the totals to 7 in the class, and all of those being traditional high school commitments. Now that brings us to 3 on the defensive side of the ball, 3 defensive backs, and now with him being a safety, the first safety in the class. Now let's talk about what his playing opportunities might be when he arrives at Auburn. It's one of the things that sold him on giving his commitment to Hugh Freeze and Auburn football was early playing time. Now, as we always talk about with freshmen, you probably should expect them to redshirt, at least to start off with, but a lot of times, especially skilled players like a defensive back, get utilized in other areas. And the great thing is, in this defensive scheme that Auburn's going to be running, they use a lot of defensive backs, more than just your traditional cornerbacks and safety. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities. At the depth pieces, you've got Zion Puckett as a senior who's going to be leaving after this point. You could also throw into the conversation the juniors, Donovan Kaufman, Marquise Gilbert. Will they still remain for their senior years? Will one go early, go somewhere else? We don't know. After that, there's a lot of depth down there, a lot of young talent that he's going to have to fight through for playing time. But if he's got the versatility to play anywhere in the defensive backfield, he'll find a space. I always love to mention where our guys come from in terms of creating recruiting pipelines. And this one, it comes from the very important state of Florida, the big three being Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. The first from the state of Florida, and I'm sure not the last in this recruiting cycle. It is crucial to maintain that recruiting pipeline, and we've already started it. And finally, let's talk about what this means for the 2024 class as a whole, but even at the defensive back position more specifically. Jaden Lewis and Amon Lane are your cornerbacks. Now you've got your safety in Kensley, so you would expect, just when you look at that usual foursome in the defensive backfield, that you might take one more safety. But as we've already addressed, there's a lot of young talent here at Auburn, and a lot of it's still going to probably be around. So I don't expect us to take too much more, but I feel like it's safe to say there's going to be at least another one. So that's my thoughts on your brand new commitment, Kensley Faustin. Would love to know your thoughts about him down in the comments section below. Be sure to do that to be entered into that subscriber giveaway that ends at 4,000 subscribers, and make sure you're subscribed. That's part of the process too. As always, check those links in the description for ways that you can help support Alumni Hall and us here at E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. War Eagle.